Not live.
Oh, okay.
Live for me.
Wrong one.
So it went up really fast last time.
I know. Right, it's literally, I sneezed in the meeting this morning. It was it's like the worst feeling.
See you. Camera's right here. And it'll take turns like focusing on you.
Yeah, so it's not right on
It'll be
you.
on you.
Only when you
It's on
talk.
you for the entire
We're gonna see
meeting.
my ugly face and
The more,
only when you
noise
talk.
make, the more it looks at you. Yeah.
Yes.
Just so you know.
And if you make a bad face, it's always.
It's recorded.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
Absolutely.
It was like a, well, they-
Mhm. Yeah, we're live. We're recording.
All right.
Does
So
not.
we're now recording. So anyhow, welcome everyone to the May 21st Transportation Advisory Board meeting. And we're going to start off with public comment. Anything come in? No? All right. Then I'd like to do some.
There's one.
I just want to say I'm looking forward to hearing about the multimodal plan that I see on the agenda.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. That was John Guffey. I would like to let you all know that Larry Gamble and also Wallace was not able to attend today. So some good wishes. And all right, so an update from trustee liaison.
Well,
No problem.
most importantly, the mayor and I met and interviewed applicants for the open positions that we had on TAB, which was really good to see a lot of community interest, and made 3 selections from all of those applicants. They are Brian Denning and Araceli Thomas, and Joan Cooper comes back in after being here for a year previously. So I see, I was going to ask them to introduce themselves, but I see we have that on the agenda, so
Yep, we
I'm
run a
gonna save
meeting.
I'm
Thank
going
you.
to say that.
Okay.
The only other thing that I wanted to touch on was, I think that after looking at the letter last night, I think that we have an opportunity to communicate from TAB to the town board in maybe a different way that is not one yes or no on a project, not one voice, not one single letter of support or not support. Although talking with Director Mahonen this morning about do we send letters, and he really raised a valid, very important point that TAB works for a period of time on projects and digs into them and gets to a point of supporting it through conversations and questions, and I think that's a really valid justification for why a letter would be a support letter. Because I can't imagine TAB would say, we really don't like this plan, and the town board hears that from the town staff. I don't think that will ever happen, or that would work well. But I think that we have an opportunity, that being said, to share the perspectives of all of the members that are here. When I look around the room, I see a lot of really different perspectives here. And in a letter, when we're making a decision, I don't get that sentiment. I don't get a feeling from what are the different perspectives of the community from a TAB letter. I would like that. I would like to know what the bike shop owner thinks, and what the retired researcher thinks, and what an engineer thinks. I would like to see a paragraph from everybody, and I'm speaking for myself. What would be helpful to make a decision from an advisory group? So I would like, to share that, and I could run that by the other members of the board, but the couple that I've talked to have said, maybe we could have a little bit broader perspective from community, because we struggle getting feedback from people on a lot of issues that the town considers. Electric rates. People just hate the electric rates are going up, but do they come to meetings? No, 1 or 2. So we want feedback. We want to hear the raw data. So I would like to have the group entertain the format of communication being maybe a paragraph from each member to say, here's my perspective on it. support or against or whatever the perspective is. That would be helpful to me and I think to others. So I'm just throwing that out for consideration.
It would mark as your vision for that format such that that's the full content of the communication from the tab, or would you expect the chair to summarize that and a summary statement at the beginning or the end?
Greg, I think that we have lost in the last several years the sentiments of the meeting in a support letter.
Mm-hmm.
And it is clear to me that, our chair usually writes that letter.
Mm-hmm.
It is reviewed by a couple of people. But I think getting that letter to review, just yesterday, I didn't look at it till late last night and I was tired. I didn't feel like that was enough time to really digest what that letter contained or what that was going to say about this group. But there are a couple of things in there that I picked out as a citizen, taxpayer, or if I was a member of this group, I would not go easy on that letter today. As a liaison, I'm going to listen to the conversation.
Yeah.
But I think that we as a group, I think TAB has missed the full representation of the sentiment of the conversation in previous letters. And that's going back, looking at letters, looking at issues. I could bring you the information. I read so much more today than I used to.
Maybe I didn't ask my question very clearly. I was
Moving forward.
attempting to clarify
Moving
if your
forward.
suggestion is, I think that the comments from each member is a great idea. The tab can discuss it and decide how they feel about it. But were you suggesting that that's the full content of the letter, or would you expect the chair to kind of set it up, contextualize it,
Well, I
and then
think that could
summarize
be,
it?
Greg. I think that it could be a statement from each person, because as a group, and despite Joan's disagreement, I think that if TAB was making, and I feel like it's a comfortable place that we could joke a little bit about things and be humans. So I appreciate your humanness. I'm not looking for TAB to make a decision for me at the town board.
And they're not.
I'm going to suffer. Well,
It's
the
a recommendation.
I understand that, but the weight of the letter, if you look back historically, it's substantial. And when TAB says we support it, and when Dana or yourself comes up and says, I'm presenting to you this project, I have a letter of support from TAB. We suggest this, but what's the body of that? What's the body of that input from this is, for me, public input. This is like a forced public input from a focus group, because we can't get people off the street to say, yeah, I'm in. Some people do. But generally, I think that the board is looking to this group for a broad range of opinions, or 9 of the same opinion. If this group supports it, and I read 9 paragraphs from different members that say, this is a great thing, I looked at it. Another person says, well, I like these parts of it. That's going to be stronger and give more credibility to that opinion in my perspective than one letter that says, yes, we support it. So I want to have transparency and credibility to the voice of this group. I think it's I think it's valuable.
Are we allowed to
Are we allowed to comment?
I would hope so, because you've said some pretty strong things here. And first of all, you're challenging the credibility of the Transportation Advisory Board, our process, our discussions.
Mhm.
I personally think this is a group. This is a group of independent, and you're supposed to be independently selected to come in with ability to be objective and listen to each other. And everyone's going to have a little bit of a bias because of their life experience. Like someone's going to have maybe bike a little more. Someone might be walking downtown a lot more. And someone may prefer their car, don't want to be bothered by pedestrians or cars. We all come in with our own bias coming into transportation. And we also have a group dynamic. And to be a high functioning group, we need to have that diversity. which we've had that for years, and we protect it. And I think, and that is why I've said this many times, even as TAB member, and now a TAB board member, you should know that in our letters, we put all the dissenting information as well. People's
I disagree
opinions
with that
are
completely.
put in there. And we come up, and even the last meeting, I went through and asked I wrote down people's comments. The scribe, the administrative assistant, professional, wrote it down as well. It came back in the minutes, and it was very clear. And I even cut and paste some of it and then compared it to my own notes. So for you to say that what I'm hearing from you is that it was not representing the individual voice, what we all agreed upon, I challenge you on that. And that is why we wrote a letter. I wrote a letter, why people are able to review it, why everyone can give feedback. We can alter it. We're still in a process. So I take concern, once again, sort of your this bold statement of our legitimacy. And I know a lot of times you don't agree with some of the outcomes or, what people have said. And I know that's been a challenge, and we voice how it must be hard to, not agree with everyone. Although now, you've been part of the hiring or whatever, the interview person. So our group has changed, and we've even lost a person who, had, for the first time, a TAB member has not been renewed. And I'm not even sure why. So I would like, that is why when I came into this meeting, I really would like to know your process around that and be transparent. So, and also as a chair, and also probably, a staff liaison, we weren't invited to the interview. So you never asked us about anything. You never consulted us. And I feel like that is kind of, to me, it makes me wonder your bias. So, and I feel like you're saying, oh, people need to be represented, but I think TAB has done a really outstanding job of talking within their own circle, and that has been brought to our conversations. So no one has been censored. No one has been shut down. Like people, in fact, I lead these meetings pretty open, and it kind of annoys people even. Like I let things just go because I feel like we're in an ideas group, and that's what the town board historically has appreciated, that. So we can get a fuller conversation about topics and issues rather than cutting it off. Okay, we have exactly 3 minutes, done, boom. There's ability to go on a little bit more, question, challenge each other, have a robust discussion. So what I'm hearing from you is that we don't have robust conversations, and that when we're writing a letter, it's not reflected in the outcome of the group decision. And the process is that we as a group come together and come up with a statement. And it is noted the wide range. And I challenge anyone here in that letter, I wrote a list, and it was exactly what everyone spoke about.
I think you have others. Sure.
Okay, so I'm glad you said that, because I actually had brought that up. I was surprised. I felt like all of the conversations have been exactly what Belle says. They're very robust. Everybody's respectful. We can make jokes. I know Joan and I have made jokes before about bicycles and things like that because we're on different sides of it. But it's always a positive thing. But even when I have voiced my opinions on many things, this has been going on. We've talked about this for 8 months. To get my entire viewpoint minimized to one as the single dissenting bullet point in the letter is exactly that of me feeling like my opinion is diminished. And so I had actually wanted to talk today. I didn't know that Mark was going to bring that up, and I kind of like your idea better than mine, but I was going to bring it up today. We've talked about this 2 or 3 times, where I think it was Larry and Joan were talking about maybe we needed, and even Greg, like the whole Supreme Court theory. You know, Joan brought it up in the last meeting. I wasn't here, but I watched it, and I felt like she just kind of got discounted. Where the letter, if somebody is not in agreement with the rest of the board, which apparently for this it's maybe just me, but that's okay.
That's not true.
I
know that's not.
I know it's okay, but anyways, but if there is a dissent to the board to what the main goal is, because this whole letter, you know, talks about a positive, how the whole thing's positive that we've been looking at for, I don't even know, 7 or 8 months. Why isn't that getting reflected in there more than a single sentence? So even if it's every TAB member getting to write a blip about what my opinion is for the people that I represent, because sometimes I kind of feel like there aren't very many of us that don't cycle, you know, around downtown and things like that, then why can't we get together and put that opinion in there too? Like, why is it going to go? Because as this is now, the way I see it happening is Dana's going to go to the board, or Greg, Mark pointed out Greg could be the person too, and say, hey, you know, they really approved it. One person thought bicycles might be a little overrepresented. And all of the points that I've made for 8 months get diminished into that moment. And so it takes away the representation of everybody that I came to this board to represent and talk to, which is a totally different dynamic, I think, than most other people in this board. So, Joan, thank you for bringing up the dissenting opinion, even though I wasn't here last week. I wanted to tell you that. So.
Can I just do a point of information? I
What's
don't
up?
necessarily know everybody.
This is
So
Mark Antonio.
thank you.
Say your
You
name.
can just say your names. I thought I did, but I don't. Thank you guys so much.
Carissa Strive. I think part of what I have an issue with here is the processes of what things happen in this group. I haven't been here the last 2 months. I'm sorry. I went to Disney World and last month was just like shit show. Sorry. I wasn't able to make it, but I think going back to March, it comes with this, where's the processes of our chair being able to write the letters of free will of how she feels and things like that and sign her name on it and not be checked, which is what had happened. There was a lot of your personal opinions in that letter when you signed it as.
I mean, you're coming at me.
I'm not
Can you
confused. I don't understand what you're talking about.
the letter you wrote to Mark.
The one he wrote to me personally, and I responded personally.
Belle, are you going to
Yes.
let somebody else talk?
Yeah, I just.
Or
I
this
need
is the
to-
problem
I
that
didn't
we
know
have.
what you were talking
Our
about.
leadership doesn't like other people's opinions. And this is the issue that we have on this board, which is represented in this letter here, which you gave us a mere 12 hours to look over. I had another board meeting this morning and a whole other packet to review. And then all of a sudden I get this letter and I was like, oh, well, this is okay, but not, you know, the ranked list of MTP project is unreasonably long. Well, why isn't there a little more detail of there of like, is this an absolute necessary to have this many because the effects of our community, like we've talked about how much the construction has affected this community in the last couple of years. When you look at this, I don't remember the exact number, but I think it was like 5 or 6 projects a year, at least, when you decided to do this list. So I don't think there's been enough time to review letters. I think the chair should be a little bit under more of a guidance of the board if they're going to be sending out letters. I think it needs to be reviewed to everybody at least, like you need to give us at least 4 or 5 days to review things. And then if you're going to put personal things, and I've been a chair of a board and I've had feelings. I'm a very strong feeling person. Most of you in this room know me and know that I have strong feelings. But when I put on my chair hat and I sit down as the chair of the board of whatever I'm doing, I have to put all of those to the side. And I can't put my personal opinions in there. And there's a lot of personal opinions in here and also in this letter. It feels, and I think that is part of what our issue is where's the processes that we're going through to make sure that all the board members are heard and aren't just kind of pushed to the side like Misty states. Because there is only 2 sentences in there that says that this isn't something that we all love. So there needs to be something. And I don't know if that's a trustee thing that they have to figure out the processes. I mean, they're going through it with Visit Estes Park. Do they need to do the same thing for TAB to figure out, you know, how the government part of it works over here to make sure things are done correctly. I'm not quite sure, but it seems kind of like a free reign of things, and we need to kind of rein it in and make sure everybody's heard. And maybe the blip is a good thing. Like I could write a paragraph that says, hey, I own a business on the West End. These are the people that I speak to. These are the people that I deal with. This is my opinion of this project. Maybe it didn't agree with the whole entire group, but this is my dissenting opinion, or this is whatever it is. You know, don't push away the majority opinion that might come out from our discussion, because it will be a majority opinion. We need to have it in there, but do let us maybe have in our own words with respect to time of the trustees who have to read it as well. Please make it like a paragraph or whatever and get it in there if that would help people feel heard on this group, because it's important for people to be heard if we're going to sit here and talk to each other and joke with each other to make sure it comes out for everybody. Did that make any sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I quickly add something? Brand new member, two of us.
Can you get your name, please?
My name's Brian Danny, now in Bandits Bikes here in town, business owner, Estes Park native. So a lot of interest in this, in seeing how it all develops. But in the letter, when I read the board unanimously recommended the adoption, I feel like from my perspective, the first day after my orientation would need time to formulate an opinion or recommendation on it. And because that's a big plan, there's a lot of information in there. And I've looked at it, but I need to look at it more and in depth, and would really appreciate more time to be able to make an educated and recommendation to be voiced on this on the board, especially since today apparently there might be a vote, I guess is my understanding, and I don't feel prepared to do that at all without being able to have more time to do this. So especially after reading, unanimously recommended. So I feel like from my perspective, I would appreciate some more time to research, educate, and then communicate with people and talk to everybody about this. Like I mentioned, it's a huge program, but that's my perspective. The brand new board member.
Yeah, John.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but at our last meeting where we said we were going to unanimously support this, neither Carissa nor Misty were actually in attendance, and so they didn't get a chance to vote their dissent. Is that correct?
Correct.
And so I think that's perhaps part of the problem.
Probably ordered it, yeah.
I love Mark's so okay. I'm gonna get that. I appreciate the really hard work that Belle has done to try and draft a letter. It's worse than herding cats, to reflect the overall diversity of opinion in here. And I think, like many others, I was struggling to figure out in my quick reading this morning how to make comments that were actually going to be useful to bring the letter into a form that I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I really appreciate Mark's notion that I mean, I think it's really important to have a letter that reflects the majority opinion. And that letter, we have actually a chance to make sure that it is the majority opinion, even though different people can't come different days. But I also really like the idea of having little paragraphs at the end, like as an appendix or something, where, Carissa can say her little one paragraph thing, and Misty can say her one paragraph thing. And I can get on my soapbox about my thing.
One paragraph.
One paragraph.
One paragraph, Joan.
Okay. Anyway, so yes.
One last thing, I watched the meeting for the board, that I was gone for, and in the board meeting itself, when this was being discussed, it was stated that it would come out within the next couple of days, and that made the minutes as well. It would be out in the next couple of days. So because I wasn't at that board meeting, I thought that maybe I not got forgotten. I don't mean that, but just I wasn't there, so maybe I wasn't included. And I feel like I wonder if we would have gotten it yesterday if I hadn't asked for it the day before. And it's really short-lived. And I think that this was going to come today. We got it yesterday and everybody was just going to be really happy and vote for it real quick. And I felt very, very rushed because I had to ask for it. And so that was kind of part of the dynamic as well. with the letter itself. It wasn't in the packet for me, as just as well as the meeting I watched from last month from April. I had surgery the day before. I thought I'd be able to make it. The surgery was longer than I expected. I didn't make it. I wasn't expecting to not make it. And so you guys talked about the Bighorn parking structure in that one. And that was also a letter that was, you know, drafted after the meeting, but brought here with the bullet points. And because that wasn't in the packet, I just had to watch you all like talk about it. And I had no way to go view it or even see what you all were talking about or what you had done while I was gone. And so I think there needs to be, if it's going to be pre-written or something pre-written that's going to come to the meeting for discussion, I feel like that needs to be done in advance and at least make it part of the packet. And I think that's kind of standard protocol for other boards, but it's not been happening here. And so it's kind of making our job a little bit harder. I think we could have had a really good conversation if we did get this letter back when it was supposed to come out. And I wouldn't have to stay up half the night trying to get my thoughts on paper and organized to come speak on it, you know, whatever, 18 hours later. So that's just a little bit thing I would like to highlight and hope that could improve.
So I like to bring people back to the agenda. I know that we were set aside at 12:45 to be discussing the letter, getting the feedback, making edits, and going over it. But there was a spin out from our liaison comments, which I appreciate noting the feedback from people on wanting individual paragraphs, comments to be added to our recommendation letters. And I'm wondering if we should take a vote on that. Should that be something that becomes kind of institutionalized, that's the process we want? Because what I'm hearing is, you know, I would like to, you know, maybe we can discuss this a little more with the multimodal letter when we get to that in our agenda. So anyway, all right. So wanting to go ahead and approve the minutes from April 16th. Is there, I know that, was there any edits? From what I understand, there was not anything.
I did not
submitted.
see any edits.
Yeah.
I'm doing my best trying to be Lonnie. So just so you know.
Doing a great job.
Yeah, I thought she did a great job capturing it. And so is there a motion to approve the April 16th? Is there a second? Joan is a second. Any further discussion? Oh, Joan seconded.
Who made the motion?
I did.
Oh, you made the
Oh,
motion?
okay.
Sorry.
And any discussion about it? No? Okay. Voting, approve the minutes. Looks like those who were here, who were actually doing, okay, that's two. You got to be here, y'all, to be, you know, be part of it. See how the minutes for April 16th have been approved. So what we're going to, now we've got introductions. I first want to introduce just real quick, jump ahead here, our Public Works Director, and then we can start going around and introducing ourselves.
Why don't we?
I don't know, I just want to bring him in first.
Okay.
It just feels like-
I'm gonna take that
I see.
segue then.
Yeah.
My name's Greg Mahonen. I am the former Public Works Director for the town of Estes Park. David Greer is the new director. Welcome, David. And Trevor Whitwer is our new town engineer. So going forward, you'll see a lot of those two guys, and Dana Klein's on vacation, so that's why he's not at the meeting today. But Dana will be coming to speak about parking and transit as well. So welcome you too.
And I guess I'll introduce myself. My name's David Greer. Unfortunately, I'm from Texas. I'm sorry. But I worked for 23 years for Travis County, which seats the city of Austin inside that. So I was the public works director there. I retired from Travis County and wanted to start my next adventure, my next chapter. So I applied for this position and I was lucky to get it. So I'm very pleased to be here. I've already purchased a home, and this weekend I'm going to get my wife and 3 dogs and bring them and meet up. And so she can be here too. She's a teacher who's retiring, but I understand there's probably a big need for teachers here. So we might convince her to teach again. I'm not sure. But anyway, that being said, I've been here 3 weeks, so I'm pretty new. And what Greg mentioned too is Trevor is the now town engineer as of Monday this week. So very, very new to these positions. And of course, we have Laura helping us with the admin duties, but we do have an admin that has accepted the position and will be starting June 2nd. So we will have that new person on board here pretty soon as well. And Laura's going to be able to help, because I don't know much about how to do these things either, to figure, help her out. Her name is Diana Cummins, or Tia Cummins. She'll go by Tia. And June 2nd for her. So we got a lot of new people starting. And so you have to be patient with me too, because I'm not familiar with a lot of things here. I've got a lot of experience in other boards and things like that on the public works duties, but every city, every county, every group is different. So I'm going to mostly try and listen and learn, and try and understand all the nuances that go on with that. So thank you, and that's the introduction.
And thanks, TAB members who showed up for that selection process. There were some TAB members who showed up for it. So thank you. I'm Val Morris, chair. I grew up in Estes Park, and know what it was like to ride our bike to work and almost get hit as a teenager, and quite scary. So also later as an adult living here in Estes Park, being here on TAB because as a citizen, just really worried about safety, and really enjoyed the process of a group. I have a special interest in group dynamics. I think it's fascinating, and sometimes it's always high learning. So I'm really excited to continue to be on TAB. Right, you want to say something?
Okay. I am Laura Blevins. I am the grants specialist, and I was in public works for the last 3 years, but they just moved my role to a more centralized location in internal services and hoped that I would help write grants for the whole town. Somehow I know Lonnie's job, and that is why I am here. I am not Lonnie, and I feel sorry for you all for that. So I'll do my best. But yeah, that's basically what I do. I'm a grant writer and note taker.
I'm Joan Hooper. I served on TAB for almost a year now. I'm a retired biomedical researcher, lifelong bicycle commuter, and not a real fan of having to be in a car in private vehicle traffic. And that's my very upfront perspective on having my seat in TAB.
All right, I'm Kristen Ekren. I'm a former engineer in town. Now I stay home. I have 4 kids, which I homeschool, and I help my husband run a landscaping business. And I love driving around my big car full of children. So, I'll be the opposite end of the spectrum.
I'm Mark Eigel. I'm seated here as your liaison to the town board. So I was elected last year, and I had been on TAB a couple years prior to that. And even prior to that, I had a couple of things to tell TAB that I thought were important. So I have some experience going back with TAB for a while. I own a business in town. I've owned businesses in town for 30 years. I just got a motorcycle a couple years ago. So I think there should be better motorcycle laws and better motorcycle parking. And it is a great strategy for parking in this community. I think there are, when you live here, and what I see is that there are strategies for getting around in your car, in your bike, on your motorcycle, if you're walking. You may be interested. I had an employee say Well, I'll park at the parking garage. Is there any benefit to that at work? I thought, maybe we pay them something different each day if they park at the parking garage and walk in. So I'm interested in solutions, and I'm interested in this group. And I think this group has some great conversation. And I will take responsibility for being a bit of a disruptor, whether it's in this environment or the town board or anywhere, because I want those conversations. I want to have the conversation and be confident in the outcome. So while I try to be silent here and not participate as a board member, I'm the communication, and I think there's room for improvement in that. So I'll be working on that. That's my story. Thanks.
I'm Trevor Whitworth, as David mentioned, just started as the town engineer this week. Prior to that, I was a civil engineer for the last 2.5 years for the town. Another title I had was pavement manager. So any street projects, chip seal, crack seal, overlay, the West Elkhorn work that we just completed, those are projects that I've managed the last few years. Prior to coming to the town, I lived in Wisconsin with my wife. We have 3 kids now. And I worked for a city in Wisconsin about the size of Loveland for 7 years. So I have a lot of experience with public municipal government. And I've been in this role prior as well. I was a staff liaison to a bicycle and pedestrian advisory committee and staff liaison to a planning commission. So I've been through this group before. So I'm excited to be here and see what y'all are going to be up to.
Hi, I'm Carissa. I own Simply Christmas, born and raised here in Estes. I actually grew up riding my bike around town with no terrifying life stories. I just rode my bike, other than stupid choices that I made. But other than that, I always got here safely downtown. So I loved growing up in Estes. I think that we need to work on parking for our guests. I think we need to make it a better experience for them and be less worried about those two-wheeled friends. Other than that, yeah, I'm super happy to be here. I'm glad that there's a business on this board. I actually found out from the board about this board from my chamber, and they said we need a business voice on there, despite Mark being my neighbor and thinking that he put me on here. But it was the chamber that decided to vote us on here to tell me, go do this. They need a business voice. So happy to be here. If we could make the meetings in the morning, that would be super great because afternoons suck. That is all.
We'll see, afternoon works for
Oh.
me.
Just like you.
Right. My name is Araceli Thomas. I'm fortunately from Mexico, close to Texas. I have lived here in Estes for 18 years. My husband is a firefighter. So we are very involved in the community. I also own a small business. It's a wholesale bread distribution for the restaurants, and that's what it made me be here, because it's like every day I'm like, just delivering. I'm like, oh my gosh, Shamrock, just move your truck. Or like someone is just like, I just wanted to eat in this restaurant. I'm like, oh my God. So it's just little things like that, that is like, okay, I need my voice. But then also have all that connections with restaurant owners and all these people, especially also bring that Hispanic voice in here as well. Just made me realize like I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm a homeschool mom, so I know it's always busy. I love my car too.
Oh yeah, I forgot to say that. I love my car. Though.
Good little thing, right? But I'm glad to be in this very diverse group, like with different opinions, and my main goal is just like to give back to the community. It's like and just hear their voices, and we can be that voice for them.
My name is Misty Marcantonio. I moved to Estes Park in 2014. My dad has been here since before I was born, so I've been here a lot longer than I've lived here, I guess is what I usually say. I was partially in charge of transportation at the school district for 10 years before I left there. And so I've dealt with a lot of the school buses, schedules, transit, children, that whole side of it for a very long time. And then I'm still connected and involved with that and with them, their schedules and things for the buses. So unofficially, they're still all my friends, I guess is the best way to say that. I drive the gas guzzling expedition of the group. And I haven't ridden a bicycle probably since I moved here, but I care about safety. Safety is probably what I care about the most, and that probably came from working at the school. So I decided to apply for TAB when people were really unhappy with the roundabouts, and it was a constant weekly fight on the Facebook pages about the roundabouts here. And I was always involved in that and trying to give input and doing research and looking up old TAB meeting notes and doing, and the town board members' emails, doing all of that research in the background. And so I finally just put my name in and applied. And I thought, if I'm going to argue online, I might as well have all the right information and try to make my voice known here. So sometimes it feels like I'm the only one in the room, but I'm okay with that. That's all I mean.
I'm Brian Denny, Estes Park native here, also business owner, Bandit's Bike Shop. Saludo, avid cyclist, outdoor hiking. I do own a Jeep Wrangler and I absolutely love it. But having said that, it's bad for hauling my bike around. I've been wanting to get involved in something like this for a while, in TAB, and seeing all the issues like the roundabout and the big projects that we're discussing. And I feel like can provide a good perspective for that. And also I'm pretty active and engaged in the community with community members. So I feel like I've got my eyes on and boots in the sand, so to speak. I hear a lot of different perspectives on what's going on from people who necessarily wouldn't speak up or come to the meetings. So a lot of people, as you know, won't come to the meetings. I wasn't one, but that's why I'm on TAB now. But I feel like I can bring their perspective and concerns to the group because I'm engaging with these people quite a bit. And there's a lot of people who have a lot of different things to say, and I'm looking forward, as you said, Araceli, to giving back to the community. And it's going to take, for my part, more outreach than just the meetings. But I'm communicating with people all the time, not necessarily just in this business sense or TAB sense. I just get opinions from people. And I feel like, well, I can present them here and hope to contribute to that and keep an eye on things and be a voice for the people who can't be here and for myself. Thank you.
All right, well, welcome everybody. All right. And go on to the multimodal transportation plan and transit development plan updates. And part of that is to over a letter that reflects Transportation Advisory Board sentiments and how we can best communicate. I can say I've heard a lot of feedback, written it down. Also, I can say writing this letter, you may notice there are sections in it. One is Estes Forward Comprehensive Plan. I actually pretty much cut and paste and then redid some of it a little bit. So it's nothing new. It's something from the perspective of when we present a master plan, it's usually directed initially from a higher document, which is comprehensive plan. So that's why I wanted to give that historical perspective that as TAB, we understand that there has been a process of community engagement and that there's a direction by the town board that's in the document Estes Forward Comprehensive Plan. So I referenced that, nothing new. I also referenced the downtown plan, and that was also coming out of the comprehensive plan directly. Then finally, that next paragraph, I put that how the master plan, this transportation plan, does identify and has prioritized projects to enhance bike and pedestrian safety, and going up from there, trying to reduce vehicle speeds, so forth. Then the next paragraph, as you can see, our next section, it states the complete streets policy. That complete streets policy came out of the Transportation Advisory Board. It was also unanimously voted supported by the town board. It's policy number 851, which is listed here in this document, this letter. I referenced it, and just a good reminder, point of reference, also giving us as TAB a reference and a community input. Finally, I put the process of how TAB engaged, that we had robust conversations, engagement. They're also listed how the plan itself engaged the community, because it was was it a legitimate process from our conversations here at TAB. The people who were here at the meetings voiced repeatedly that there's no dissent around that. So that was put in there. We did, let's see, it also came out of, some of that came out of a letter to CDOT for the funding of this plan, the process of it, hiring consultant team. TAB was part of that process of support. We sent in a letter to the town board. They received it they also know about it, that is. So that was part of a packet to CDOT, actually. Then another section in this letter listed the considerations for this transportation plan and the transit development plan. And I listed them, which were in our conversations. Nothing was created, nothing, I simply was reporting. As I spoke before, which we've always done, we always make sure we include the what we talk about, which is here in a very, very simplified form. And what I'm hearing is people would like a lot more developed paragraph on each of those, which we could definitely do. Obviously, I'm not the final person. This is a collaborative effort. It always has been. I hope it will always be. Number 7, from our last meeting and from other meetings, the voice we heard about cycling came from Misty. But as I've said many times, and what we've done historically, which we could change, we try not to get personal on this in these meetings. We try to, we could do it differently. It's great, but that is where I came from. I think it's smart to keep it on a higher level discussion. That as a group, we came up with a final decision, how we recommend it, and also how we don't recommend it. But I hear that there might be a different strategy or representation that we can put personal paragraphs, whatever we all agree to. Sounds good to me. There's pros and cons to all of that, and maybe unintended consequences. I don't think I can say from perspective, the town board has never asked for personal opinions. They've never, because they're also following, and that's where a liaison is, reports what the discussions are about. Also, we have our minutes. So there's an opportunity for them to follow and know what's going on. But we do provide a letter, which is usually a simplified, informative, how we came about. Here, I came up, these are projects, these are the steps, why the plan even was asked for, why it is existing. So there's also in here, in the process, how it engaged people. there was interactive mapping, there was public meetings, so also TAB. So anyhow, I hear a lot of just like absolute do not support this letter. So I'm not sure.
Well, I feel like we could
What?
go like two ways with this, right? We could either redo the letter so everybody's happy with it and it is what we want it to be like as a group, or we leave it kind of in this version and then we all put in our, as you would say, personal opinions. But it's not just personal, it's our experiences of the people in the environment around us. So it's not, that's hopefully where you're coming from when you're writing this paragraph, is this is what I experience every day on the West End when I'm watching the trucks move in, or whatever it is, your experience detailing why this is your thought on this. Not, you know, like I just absolutely hate one ways because I just hate one, you know, like what is the reasoning that as your personal opinion is different from this letter? And maybe that is, you know, it's not necessarily, does that make sense? It's not all feelings, but it's, this is your perspective of this issue and why you think differently from it.
That's what you're wanting the paragraphs to say.
Like if that's what you want in your paragraphs, because you're kind of putting down the idea by saying, well, it's your personal feelings and things like that, but it's perspective of something different than maybe the major group letter that we put out there. And I think that that's an okay thing put out there, because I know I've written in, like when the Cleve Street thing happened, I wrote in detailed notes to TAB members. I gave trucking schedules. I took pictures of how the trucks are out there. And they still voted an absolutely terrible choice on Cleve Street. So it makes you wonder if your notes were even looked at or passed through to the trustees at that point, or if, you know what I mean? So maybe there needs to be a little, just another step in there that has that perspective in there that might be different than the main letter, but it's like, this is why my perspective is the way that it is.
Okay.
I've had experience with boards like this a lot, and I'm sure you guys have heard this, a minority report that can be attached to the letter. But basically, the people who voted maybe against the letter have a different opinion and get together and create their minority report that brings in those opinions and ideas and facts that may be contrary to the main letter.
That'd be great. And I think it would be good for the community to hear that as well, because even when like things like the loop were voted through and all my neighbors and everybody are saying this is a horrible thing, and then the TAB is like, we wrote a letter that fully supports this unanimously. And I was like, what? Who's on TAB? What's happening there? So it would have been nice to have that little minority report of there. Were there people on that board that were saying something different, or was it really a whole unanimous decision? Like, I think it helps with the transparency of our community, and then maybe people will want to join boards because they see what's happening on the boards.
Joan and then Greg.
So I'm feeling two different things are under discussion here. And one is about whether we are going to support the plan, and the other is about the letter.
Correct.
Yeah, like how to communicate that.
And I feel like, or from our previous conversations, we're mostly supporting the plan, although we all have little things that we're not quite comfortable with. And that really the hang up is that the letter, I think for many of us, doesn't express our hesitancies, it's too positive.
A lot of fluffy.
Okay.
It feels very biased.
Yeah.
Is what I'm gonna bluntly say.
Yeah. And as I say, it's really hard to write one of these things. And I appreciate that you have taken a first stab at it. And I think that perhaps what we could do most productively, I don't know if this is the time and the place to do it, is that we should each make serious comments about what's in the letter, and then have somebody, maybe not Belle, maybe Belle, then rewrite, trying to put those comments together, and then come and work on it.
Because we don't have to push this through right now. I mean, this is something that's for 2040.
It's sweeping.
I mean, I know the town wants, the town wants this plan. They want to be able to vote on it. They want to move
I mean, we'll have it done
forward.
before that, we promise, but.
In these plans, once again, like in here, which is direct feedback from all of you, you know, it's unreasonably long, and how, number two, how these projects are going to be changing, the funding is going to be changing. And so it's kind of live and dynamic as time marches on. So,
I mean, it might be something as simple as, there's a couple of pages of happy stuff at the beginning before, I don't know the right words for this. I'm not a politician. Before it gets to the nuts and bolts of actually what we think. And maybe there would be a way of restructuring it in a way that I don't know. I'm going to shut
What's
up.
the objective? What's the objective in this communication from the Transportation Advisory Board? What is the advisory data that's being provided to the town board? Who's going to make the decision? Y'all don't have to come to an agreement on this, but you have to get, am I off base here, Greg? And I want to get a clear product that I can go as liaison and say, wow, that was a great conversation. Everyone's perspectives are represented. Take 5 minutes to read through this.
Well, I think that
Go ahead and finish.
Sorry, but
if I was sitting in your chair or his chair, I would want a clear analysis of what's good and bad about it, but a directive. Yes, this is good enough that we can pass it, or no, we've just wasted $500,000 in 3 years and we need to go back to the drawing board. I mean, isn't that what you guys are asking for in the
Is
end?
there a way to
sounds
put
like-
it's a letter though? Like, yes, this is what we like, but please watch these things that we have of concern in the letter.
Yeah, that's what I
Is-
thought we
and-
were trying to write.
Well, I understand that, but that's like, is that
What do you guys need?
yeah, I guess I don't know. I would like clarification. I support that question too. And also, what do you need?
a diverse group of opinions about a project. We want community input.
so we need to work on this letter.
We, from my perspective, to make a decision, I want to hear from the community. I want to hear from bike enthusiasts. I want to hear from SUV lovers. I want to hear from parents. I want to hear from business owners. And I want to be able to balance all of that information to make a good decision, because the town staff has their own set of information. This is a part of the process.
But in the end, the transportation plan is just a list of projects that have been prioritized. The rest of it is just,
But we're not talking about I'm not talking about the quality of this plan and how long it's taken to get here and my opinion of the plan. I'm talking about the communication of this public input to the town board. That's all I'm concerned about.
Yeah, I could respond, but I'm not going to. But go ahead. Great.
So I think I'm next.
Yeah.
This is great. A lot of people want to talk. Hearing all this, I have a picture in my mind's eye of how to get to the finish line on this. What makes sense to me is I think I can't imagine a better way to communicate to the town board what all the member opinions are, other than let each member articulate their perspective. So I'm really attracted to Mark's suggestion here that the communication from TAB to the town board includes narrative provided by each member. One thing I like about that, it takes us out of polarizing the advisory board into the majority group and the minority group. We don't have those defined. It will change, it will ebb and flow, it will change with every topic because everyone gets to speak their piece. So if we have a summary from every TAB member, and then the chair takes all that and summarizes what was the outcome of this discussion, as a group, where did TAB land? So I think the chair would set the context for the letter. You have all the individual comments, and then maybe a summary of what is the overall opinion of this advisory board. So it seems fairly straightforward. Now, for this particular project, if there are objections to specific content, this would be a really good time to talk about it. Because if we're going to go down this path of amending, essentially asking every member to provide input and then add that to the letter, we'll have to talk through the timeline for that. Anyway, I think there's a fairly straightforward path to accomplish what Trustee Eigel suggested and give voice really to every perspective.
I don't think the problem for me is the plan itself. I think that the problems that I have with the plan, whatever it is, I guess if we're not talking about redoing the letter right now, I won't go into that part of it. But I think that it feels very biased, and we talked about how there's not supposed to be bias. You know, Bella had said that it's a good summary of everything, but it feels so biased. And when I felt like my words weren't reflected in the letter, because what was written was never even really the point of what I've stated at any of our meetings. Belle wrote me back in a private email, and she said it was a perfect example of how I feel that there's bias in this group. And so in the letter itself, not in the group, everybody has their opinions, but the bias shows in this one sentence. And she said, I think it's a legit concern to consider. She's talking about my opinions on the bicycles being overrepresented. Okay. And I'm glad you brought it up, but
Yeah.
She says, I do bike. So I lean towards whatever infrastructure is available to ride safely until I'm 80 years old. And then she put a smiley emoji. And in my opinion, the smiley emoji reflects to me that my opinion was discounted, just like that emoji, which is how I felt about the letter. And so when my letter, none of my points made it into the letter, it was the smallest and last, bullet point on number 7 of the whole entire letter. It just felt like I was very diminished. And so, Chris, I know usually shares an opinion with me, but I even was singled out with the word one number, which is why I came here. And I'm like, I'm the only one against this because it says I am. And that might not even be the truth.
It says I am.
And that in itself might not even be the truth, which I didn't even realize. So I think that there is a lot of bias. And I think that depending on one person who is the chair, who is very opposite of what I feel, in charge of the summary letter and not having the time to go through it, although we're doing that now, I think that's where the problem lies. And then Kimley Horn, I wasn't a fan of them. I would just like to say that on the record. I didn't love how they handled our suggestions or anything we did with them, and the typos were embarrassing. And I know we're talking about, I don't think anybody wants to redo the plan or rehire them or extend that. I don't think we're going down that road whatsoever, but I'm just going to be obnoxious and say out loud that I did not love them. So, okay, I'm done.
Cool. And just what you all said, something, the long range plan, I understand the need for planning and stuff, but is this really so time sensitive that it has to be done right now, especially with 2 new board members who, as I go back, to at the last meeting or unanimously recommended, I would like to be able to pipe in and actually have an official opinion on the record, but would need time to really look over. I feel that I don't value that quite a bit to give that for the whole plan, because it is very big. I have read it, continue to read it, but there's a lot in there. There's a lot of information, and would love to have more time so I could actually give an opinion, to TAB that's informed and educated based on what's in there and what the plan is. So that would be really important to me, as opposed to just having a blanket letter of support that says, I support this. I can't do that because I don't know anything. I'm brand new, number one, first meeting here. So that's my perspective where I'm coming from. So
yeah, a thought on that. I don't feel like it's fair to ask a new member to step into this process and then render an opinion on these 2 very large detailed documents.
Right.
If you want to, you're absolutely welcome to. But thinking through that quandary and in the context of Trustee Idle's suggestion, I think it's perfectly fair to say I'm a brand new member to TAB, and I did not have the opportunity or the time to engage in this process. So I'm looking forward to offering opinions in the future on future topics. and really just take a pass on it. Alternatively, if you want to invest the time and provide some comments into this alternate format, you would absolutely be welcome to do that. But it's an awful lot to ask new members to come in and really try to do the work that this group has invested in for the last 5 months, 6 months, and We've had this conversation numerous meetings and
Sure.
trying to get this across the finish line here.
Yep,
So
but here we are.
here we are.
Here we
Yeah.
are.
And
Brandon
there is no absolute urgency on it. I guess it really comes back to how much time does TAB want to continue to spend on this?
Can we give like next, okay, I guess the timeline recommendation if we would like to, because I don't know if we're gonna get this wrapped up in 50 minutes that we have left. If then it gives them the opportunity, maybe for the next meeting, we have this letter in front of us. Maybe we write in our edits of the letter or write in our paragraph. We decide here today on what we want to do. Give it to Belle, have her do the overview of it and the idea that Greg had said, make sure it gets out to us in a timely manner so we can read it and do whatever we need to do with it. And then maybe have it wrapped up for next month. Does that sound like?
I like the idea. I was gonna be, maybe it's too presumptuous on my part, but suggest that the TAB members, if we're gonna go down this path, give yourself the deadline, whatever's comfortable for you, a week or 2 weeks from now to provide the comments. And if Belle is available and able, she could distill all that, incorporate it into an update and distribute it to TAB at least a week ahead of the June meeting.
Yeah,
And so you all have time to go through it and make sure that what you wrote was properly reflected, the summary you can live with, and so on. And then maybe at the June meeting, we can accomplish what we're trying to accomplish today. But if you've had enough time to look at it and in the context of this conversation, maybe it's fairly straightforward to go ahead and approve it and move on. And if that's the case, we could still shoehorn it into the town board packet for the second meeting in June. If TAB's able to deliver a finished product at the end of this TAB meeting, the June TAB meeting, we could stay on schedule. And if that doesn't feel comfortable, we can postpone it another 2 weeks into July.
How does everybody feel about that? Get it done in the June? Yeah. Are you guys okay with that? Does that give you enough
So
time?
when's the next tab? It's in June. right?
June
About a month.
18th.
Third Wednesday.
Yeah, I think it's June 18th.
I'd say that would be reasonable for me. And then if leading into that, if running into issues, and we could request postponing to July if
Good.
we had to.
Absolutely could.
So let's make a plan, get your notes and everything into Belle and then no complaining if you don't get them into her. Okay. So.
Is the plan on the website?
Yeah, there, and I can send you links. There were links in the agenda online that I emailed.
Okay.
And to do the
So the one on
link,
the bottom? Yeah, click on it.
Yeah, so you,
Okay.
you click on that, it goes to the website, and then you can pick which one you want to go to.
and does the link point to the final updates that Kinley Horn sent to us
I
a week or
believe,
two ago?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
And in
perfect.
that link, it's there also, I just kind of piggyback what Ryan said, right? Because I'm like, I'm new and I read the letter and there are just a few things that I have a lot of questions about. Is in that plan, does include all the community's input and expectations? Okay,
Yeah, they did public.
everything is in there. Okay,
If you look on here, you can look and there's actually the comments that people have all made on the plan. So you can see.
and this is from our community, right?
Mhm, yeah, you can read this. There's Joan. Hey, Joan. She's got lots of comments on
Okay.
here. And then there's some Bell. I mean, there's Tom Street. And so there's different residents. So you can go
Okay.
through and read through all of
But the
that.
plan has been approved by you previously, right?
Yes.
Unanimously? Or at least you had a quorum?
I believe that was the outcome of the last
Yes,
meeting,
yeah,
wasn't
yes.
intended.
So the only
We're
thing that
okay
you
with
guys
the
need to
plan.
approve is,
The
because
letter.
I'm a little bit confused, like I hear both sides, like I hear like,
Yeah.
I don't like the letter, but then I hear also that, well, maybe the plan is not good. So I just wanna clarify that the plan has actually been approved by you and it just moving on to the next step, which is bringing it
Yes.
to the board of trustees.
The letter
That's
needs
what-
to be written, which
what we
shows
were
all the
trying-
concerns of everybody, like
Just making
yes,
sure.
the majority, and
Okay.
then also the other points that we're concerned about as a community in the next 20 years of this happening.
Okay,
And what was asked at the last meeting is, we did a vote on it and then also what people wanted in the letter. And
Okay.
so that is where that list under consideration
Mhm.
was, and that was directly from what was gathered at the meeting.
Okay.
So, and it sounds like, I'm still not clear. I've heard some negative feedback about what was listed here. What I'm hearing is that everyone's going to write in a paragraph, hopefully certain amount. Should we limit how many pages? Because people might.
Just keep in mind,
Or-
you want the town board to read this, and if it's too long, the odds go down of them reading it thoroughly. And how long is too long?
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on that, Mark? I mean, should this thing
In
be?
my
limited?
mind, as I was in the middle of the night when I was thinking about this, there's a succinct paragraph from each member that gives some insight to what the perspective is on it. And it's not a 2-pager. It's after participating in the conversation, my perspective is, my concerns are whatever that would be, but it's not going through every single part of it.
So no more than a succinct paragraph. Is that no more than a quarter page?
Quarter page, please.
I don't want to define that, but I think
Max.
if we get a 10-page document, there's less of a chance of reading it.
That's my
And
wording.
also the perspective, we also have to understand is that this is a process where we've all been engaging all along. We've been giving feedback. It's been incorporated. We've had this mapping done, and from the public, they engaged and put their information on. So there is an element of, we've been giving our feedback the whole time, but now to make sure, it sounds like, people want the final, just in case you didn't get it,
Well, it makes your life easier.
Yeah.
It takes you out of
Well, it makes
the
it-
crosshairs. You don't have to
You know.
summarize everybody's opinion.
Yeah, and all I know is that I did exactly what I was told to do. So.
Cool. We could move on to the next one. We have a plan for next time. Right?
You probably ought to set some deadlines.
Well, I personally, if we can get this sooner than later, I'm concerned that it is like, we were supposed to, like there was supposed to be a time when the town board was going to be seeing this, everything was going to be going in. So it's going to, have a log jam for a lot of other things. How is that going to impact Public Works with this time if we're going to delay it another month? That's my question.
There's no adverse consequence to
Okay.
any projects.
Okay.
We are anxious to wrap it up so we can move on to other work. But we don't want to push that sentiment at the expense of somebody feeling diminished or not given an opportunity to share.
How much
This is
time?
the second time in 2 months, I feel like we're I'm excited to be able to contribute because we've had this conversation. I feel like it's a little bit on repeat more than it should have been.
Right. It does feel that way.
How much time do you need?
How much time do you need to
together?
write
How much do you need?
your
You're going to send it to
paragraph?
me and I'm just going to drop it in.
If we,
Yeah, by the
if
end of
the
the
TAB
weekend.
meeting's on the 18th, if we get it the 11th, that gives us a week to review. If Bell gets a week to incorporate it,
Mhm.
that puts us at the 4th. So should we have all comments to Bell by June 4th?
Sounds
Is
good.
that reasonable? That's 2 weeks from today.
Yeah.
And there's two classes of comments. One is comments on the text of the letter and the other is your personal paragraph. Is that what we're
No.
talking about
No.
here?
No,
No.
for me, it's about dollars. Like whatever. There's so many dollars towards bicycles compared to how many bicycles are actually in town. And so for me, it's just that talking about the plan itself. Like that's kind of my issue with it. And so that's what I want the town board to know. It's not just that bicycles are overrepresented.
Sorry, my question about
Yeah.
the process over the
Those
next
are
month.
other-
Yeah.
I think you're
That's
on
your
the mark,
page.
Joan,
Yeah.
with your comment. I think every member should leave this meeting understanding they have an assignment to write a paragraph and it says whatever you want it to say. Additionally, if you have feedback on the content in the draft, please share it when you email to Bell. So she can take that to heart and incorporate that into her edits to the summary.
So
Makes sense.
ultimately, you could leave the letter, right? In that case.
Well,
Because
unless
then there'd be a
somebody
backup.
really takes exception to the
Well,
content.
I've heard some really like, you're not happy with this process of this consideration list. Like no one agrees with those 7 comments. So I
don't think it's we disagree.
I
I think
really-
there could be some more
the feedback
detail
I've
with it
heard
is
that
what
I've
I'm
taken notes
thinking.
on, that no one agreed like the ranked list, priority projects is
Okay,
unreasonably
rather than
long.
trying to wade through that right now, how
Do you want
about
me to add to it?
I would suggest that you give each member an opportunity to do two things if they want. They write a paragraph reflecting their sentiment on the plan.
Mhm.
And if they have feedback on specific content on this draft, they give you that separately. Then you can take all that and decide what edits to make to the letter, in addition to appending or inserting the perspective comments.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. It's just a lot of work. And there's probably, I'm gonna have to sort through every single person's opinions in it. And some people may not like it exactly. So I ask all of you to know that we're in a group where the goal hopefully is some sort of agreement. Like sometimes you have to give and take a little. So
I think if
the
you're-
wording is not exactly specifically that one person wants, I ask that people show up with a little flexibility and hopefully it still without compromising what you would prefer to be said. Okay.
To that point, maybe the filter, the question to ask oneself as you were going through this exercise is, can I live with the content? And if you can't live with it, bring the comments back, because it needs to be at a point where this group can live with it. Maybe you don't love it, but can you live with it?
And that, yeah, and I think that's the process of what we're trying to give to, and the outcome to the town board is that we can give them some bottom lines. Like the bottom lines, we support the master plan.
But I don't, in all this, we don't want to take away anyone's opportunity to say, this sentence just does not work for me. I can't get behind this unless we change this sentence. And that's the conversation we'd have next week or next month.
And I'm for waiting, it's till the next meeting too. I mean, 2 weeks seems kind of fast to me, but I'm new at this as well. So I know you guys are like wanting to get it done, but it sounds like for you, you're being very respectful of, you know, the citizen engagement and stuff. And to me, that would be very, very valuable to me.
Okay.
To read the whole thing and give a thorough opinion too. I know you guys have been through it, and thank you for doing that. But, you know, you have two brand new members and we are part of the board, and I think that's, we just have to roll with that. I think we have to have some input on that too, but my 2 cents.
I feel you. I'm sort of in the same boat.
Yeah.
I just started reading it a
2
couple
weeks
of
is
days
fast,
ago.
yeah.
I know it's one big thing is, gosh, the third of the report is an inventory, what we have out there. So that might help you a little bit. You know,
Yeah.
The meat of direction is not the whole report. Yeah, it's kind of read it.
I think it's important to reiterate that it's a high level master plan too.
Right.
The way that this is going to be used by staff and community engagement in the future, it's not exact. That prioritization list might change a little bit. There's going to be projects that once we dive a little bit deeper into them, they're not feasible, or financially they're just not worth it. We're finding that with the master trails plan. There's trail alignments in there that have private property easements, wetland setback issues that just it doesn't make sense to pursue it. So understand that these things are going to change slightly as time goes on, and these projects get funding, and there's more research put in.
Which is stated in number 2.
Perfect.
So
I have not seen the letter, so if
Yeah.
I have comments.
So
on
that's
that.
where I'm wondering if you needed more, should be like 3 or 4 sentences per item on here to give it a little bit fleshed out. I think that's what I'm trying to figure out, like what's the disconnect? I'm still confused because everything y'all are saying was listed on here. But you're saying it wasn't. So I just want to.
I think when you read the individual commentary from members, it may be more apparent.
Okay.
Be a good place to start.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then, okay. Go do that and then put it in. And then, so then the process, I'll get y'all's feedback, your paragraphs, and then seeing if it aligns or adds to the consideration list. And then after that, I would like to, can we have a meeting and we'll go over this again?
That's the
You
June
guys,
meeting.
you guys give it
As,
up?
as long as your draft
And-
is distributed a week before the
Yeah.
meeting, we heard
Right.
that pretty clearly.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to write something. It's really easy to throw darts,
Yes.
but especially when there's a lot of very strong personalities in this room. And so sometimes it's even harder to, it just takes a while just to even like where to begin. And so anyhow, I appreciate y'all's patience and sorry that it's not exactly what you wanted. So I'm certainly trying, not trying to sabotage or trying to manipulate something. So again, everything y'all are saying, it's in here, but obviously not fleshed out enough. So I look forward to your paragraphs and certainly read it and try to capture what everyone is saying.
Were you gonna like, if I write like what my blip is in my mind, the way I thought I understood it was just gonna be like stuck to the back, like.
Yeah, on the bottom of it.
These opinions.
Yeah.
Are you actually, and I'm just genuinely asking, because I feel like hopefully it's not more work. Are you trying to take what I'm gonna write and re-implement it in later? Because
No.
if I feel it, okay, good. Thank
No way.
goodness That's not any more work.
Are you kidding?
Okay, good.
I want to live. If you can ride my bike safely.
Okay, good. So I'll write it as if it's just like attached. And so if I feel like I'm not represented, I can represent myself. It's attached to the back and it shouldn't
Yeah.
hopefully be too much more work for you. So,
No, cut and paste, like I said.
okay,
But
thank you.
what from those, what Greg was just talking about is that from that, hopefully I can see where in the list of 7, you wanted more robust sentence or 2.
It's always an option
So-
if you're struggling to summarize the content,
Mhm.
just say the considerations are reflected on the attached summary from the
Perfect.
members.
So easy, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm really excited
can
to
do
talk
that.
about the Bighorn parking structure. Don't you start your first meeting that way.
Let me take the bullet.
I didn't bring tomatoes.
Project manager, Pastor
I got
John,
an egg.
able to be here. So, yeah, we'll have engineering updates from Mahonen. So go ahead. And the
Long as-
Bighorn.
I'll start with the Bighorn parking
Yes,
structure.
absolutely.
The project is on temporary pause. It's not dead. It's not killed. It's not going away. We've had internal staff discussion with our planning team, and there are just some additional considerations that have to be factored into the design. And so before we had laid out a timeline, Derek was excited to have a conceptual design come in here next meeting, take it to the town board. We've been asked to tell the consultant to pause their effort until we can have further discussion internally on some pretty significant issues. It really is regarding setbacks, proximity to adjacent buildings, driveway spacing, just a variety, just kind of fundamental mechanics that we have to be in alignment on. Going to go down, spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on a design, and then we go through public process and, oh, we missed A and we missed B and we missed C. So we're going to get A, B, and C tuned up before we continue forward with the design.
Timeline on that?
I'm gonna pop a bubble.
I know, I know.
Wah, wah.
I know, get the soundtrack out.
That makes me, where are we gonna park? It's already really bad and it's not even like you took all the spaces out of Cleve and it's already really bad.
You are absolutely 100% right. You are. Yes.
I'm gonna have to buy like a little thing to fit in my little space next to my building.
Here.
I need a scooter that can carry my box.
Motorcycles.
Or scooters.
I know.
Yeah.
Really? You know it's gonna get bad back there. Like people are gonna get brutal. And the only hope we had is that we wouldn't have to deal with this in a few years because there would be a beautiful.
And I think that hope's still alive.
All right.
I really think that.
I'm not telling people.
That's fine.
I'm not. I'm gonna let Mark tell people.
You want that in the minutes? I'm not telling people.
Like, okay, go one at a time. So, yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Is this pause just a couple of months or?
Less than that.
Okay.
Less than that. No, we got Travis. So Derek is out on vacation. Ian is out on vacation. All parties will be back. Mid-June, we have a meeting scheduled internally with our department and the planning department. Do you remember the date on that? It was just sent out yesterday.
I know, it's June 3rd or 4th, something like
Yeah.
that. It was,
So no, we're talking, weeks, not months of pause.
I want to go to that meeting.
yeah.
I'm
Are
great.
you,
Internally,
are you an engineer?
No, I just
Oh,
want
okay.
I want to be a fly on my wall.
Where's your-
Okay.
Is there, to start out there for ideas, is there any way to help mitigate some of the concerns that Chris is speaking towards? Is there like a loading zone that can be like, is there something that can help?
The problem with Cleve Street is it's not wide enough, and so the trucks are already going to have a huge issue because it was made with a planter sticking out into the middle of the road to where people can't like pass. So with that, there's no fix on Cleve, unfortunately. It's just this.
Can be anything. Okay.
Yeah, the parking supply has to be provided in a different. way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
Engineer language.
So
right.
will there be signs then to help the person who's driving?
I can
or
go
anything
get-
like that?
I can go get the signs, and actually maybe when I'm done talking here, I'll run down and bring the signs down and show them to you.
It
So,
might
yes,
be.
there are some signs.
It might be a good idea because I know a lot of the West End businesses have never bought parking permits for their business, for their employees and stuff before, because we've always had the Bighorn lot, to maybe drop off some information for them on how to do that, or that does exist. Or if I mean, I can do it as well. I have no problem dropping things off to people, but maybe that would help mitigate, because then, because I know my girls will park in the lease lot, they just don't want to pay for it, and I have to go buy. I made it 3 years before I paid the parking system. So I'll have to go buy them, but maybe just that information for the businesses that they can buy their employees the work permits might be good, because I know a lot of them on that end don't know about it because we haven't had to use it before.
Okay.
Just sacrificed.
Performance park is free.
Mhm.
Part of that spruce lot's free.
On street Bighorn.
The parking garage is not that far away. For the
Do
people.
you want to tell 72-year-old Reed that
No, I
and
totally-
65-year-old
100%
Kevin Patrick?
sympathetic. I
the
know.
man with two names?
I know.
Yeah.
I'm sympathetic.
So
Hey, what's wrong with
engineering,
65?
Nothing's wrong.
Not everybody is Joan. Who's out biking up the mountains of Trail Ridge like this woman. You could kick my butt.
so I'll pass the baton to Trevor and let him talk about engineering updates. I'll go get a sign and come back and just show you what we have in mind.
So I'll start with the Highway 7 and 34 trail design. We anticipate having 30% plans sometime in June. So we hope to bring that plan set to you, that initial 30% in July, the July meeting. So we can have that conversation and review the initial layout. And then we'll also be coordinating public outreach at that point to work with the businesses and property owners in those corridors. You may have noticed we finished West Elkhorn paving last week, got all the striping finalized. East Riverside parking lot has been finished. Our striping crews for the entire town started this week, so you'll see them kind of out and about. We're trying to hit the downtown area early in the morning before it gets busy. All the curbs on Elkhorn were done yesterday and today. Cleve Street, the contractor has been doing a few repairs on some of the concrete pavement, kind of in the mid-block area, that failed or cracked sooner than anticipated. So we need, once that's poured, there's about a week of cure time minimum before we can allow traffic on it. So hoping to get that street opened up as soon as we can. And then the rest of our project list, for the rest of the year is really our overlay paving work. Steamer Parkway is going to be in August in front of the Stanley Hotel, and then Matthew Circle will also be sometime in August. So Colson, our contractor, was here for a short bit, and then they kind of leave town and we don't see him for a while. They'll come back and finish in August, September. So And then one other quick update, kind of relevant with the trail system. The Performance Park Bridge, we closed it to vehicles last summer. We found some structural deficiencies with it. So we placed a bollard to close that to vehicles. Events and parks use it pretty often to get equipment over to Performance Park. Just yesterday, we took another look at it, and we're going to look at it again this afternoon to move forward with potential demolition plans and a full closure. Our streets department put some barricades out on it this morning. So we're completely closing it to all pedestrian access as well. And then the future of that bridge replacement is still in conversation. We do have it budgeted if we choose to go forward with that route, but topic discussions are still ongoing. So just wanted to give that a quick update.
Would that be like a prefab grid that
It's-
you just?
Ideally, that's the best case scenario, but it's really dependent on if we want to make a traffic loaded bridge or not, traffic rated. So because events uses it and parks uses it, there is redundancy, and they can come in over off Philby Court and still get to Performance Park with vehicles. We do have a new pedestrian bridge immediately east of that one as well. So those are all discussion points right now. That's all I have.
Thank you. And then wanted to introduce an idea that Public Works Director and I talked about the other day is introducing a bicycle field tour of infrastructure. And I'd like to add a pedestrian tour. And what we've done this in the past with TAB members and the public, is invite people to tour parts of Estes Park with either on foot, or this one specifically was thinking of on a bicycle, so that there's an understanding of and take an inventory while we're doing it of what works, what's not working, and why. And we did this with engineering. They came out with us, and there was a public person who came out, someone from the public came in. And it was really eye-opening to get the understanding of just how uncomfortable someone might feel, or comfortable, so that it's not just it just opens people's minds of what it's like to navigate through our community on a bike or through as a pedestrian. So and then take notes, and then that way it's a community engagement, and we found it quite effective when we were able to give it to Public Works. And I remember one of the engineers who joined us, he had not been on a bike and done that before, and so it was really eye-opening. So so anyhow, I was hoping that we would consider it and hopefully get that going. I'd like to see if we did it, y'all wanted to have this happen, that it would happen soon, because we don't want it during the season of all the tourism here and high traffic. That what would happen, what I'm envisioning is what we've done before, is we all meet at the parking structure at a time that everyone agreed to. Usually it's in the morning, typically in the morning, and then do a route. And the route in the past has been, we did up the Lake Estes Path, connecting up to 4th Street, then going southbound on Highway 7, and going up to Graves Avenue, looped up to Community Drive, and then down 7. Then I think we ran out of time, really, but and then we end up going back on 4th and over to the parking structure. But we could come up with some routes, parts of town that haven't really been looked at as much, and maybe if there's a route that someone would like to come up with, maybe that you have your eyes on, Also, if there's someone who is a big walker in our community, if there's a route that you would like for us to look over, I think it would be good information. I know in the Safe Routes to School programs, or when you look for grants, they request inventories. They want that engagement. They feel that projects are most successful when there's that level of interaction with the public. And so anyhow, I thought that would be, since we all had signed for being on TAB and been approved, that I would assume that everyone would have that sort of interest as well to see what it's like. So, yeah.
Quick question, being the bike guy, sorry. Do you have when you say routes, the purpose for riding, like to see the conditions of the infrastructure or getting from point A to point B in a safe manner?
All the above.
All the above?
Whatever your experience is.
Okay.
It's not like, well, this is what you're supposed to see. No, it's very open so that everyone can have their own experience and note and take their own notes, and then we could gather the feedback. And then, and they give it to, the engineer.
The safe routes to school, and I'll be brief about this, for pedestrian and cycling or biking would be extremely important because that's what get utilized a lot. The kids going to school or J1 walking, and I think those would be routes, like on South St. Vrain, or I figured that out later, but the widely used ones, because people use them for both.
Yeah. And I know we've done, we're in the process of this master plan. So some of these what we may notice are in some of the projects, but it can also really give us some insight of the potential, or if it does get past some of these projects later, when there is engagement of an actual design of something, we can really reference what that intersection was like, or what it really is like. So it could be a learning experience, and it's been helpful to handle.
So there's not specific problem areas that you're wanting us to show. You're just wanting us to kind of feel what it is like to be on a bicycle in Estes Park. Is that the goal?
Find problem areas?
Like if there's problem areas, I'd want to look at those, but are we gonna I don't want it to feel like it's the Estes Park Transportation Advisory Board, bicycle club, where we're gonna go focus on bicycles, but we're not talking about, the delivery drivers that have to go through town, or there's so many different transportation points of view that are problematic in this town, that to focus on a bicycle tour just kind of highlights everything I've been saying, is all I'm trying to say. If there's problematic places for bicycles that we need to know about to help improve our opinion of that area and make that a priority for safety, because I care about safety, that is, in my opinion, a totally different conversation. But to just go do it just to feel what it's like, I think is a little overweighted, I guess. But that's just my opinion.
I kind of agree. We do need to go hunt for, or address the issues. I think that's a good point. There are some massive issues in the downtown area, and maybe I like the idea of the delivery truck drivers. We should just hop on a truck with them and deal with what they have to deal with every day. I feel so bad for them. They should get 1,000 pounds of gold for delivering in Estes Park. Seriously. So I don't know. Does it open a slippery slope of what we're doing? You know what I mean? Or are we going to do it for all entities in town if we do something like this?
I'm just saying an idea that I thought was really effective, that we go as a group, or whoever can. Some people can't, and that's fine. But to take an inventory and just notice and take note what, is, what I don't even want to say, but you need to take an inventory of what crossing an intersection, what it's like.
I think that's what public comment is for too.
So, and it's something where we invite the public, and it's publicized. We go through the normal ways of announcing a meeting, and it's publicized and encourage participation, and it could be for any user. So, and once again, we could do bikes. We also, I think, pedestrians. Hopefully that would work. And if someone doesn't like to get on a bike, they certainly don't have to go. But it
Are
could
we
be an
just like-
opportunity to understand, if they're not a cyclist, what the concerns are and why people are advocating.
Could we put out a thing in the newspaper that says, hey, cyclists, have you noticed anything around town that's off or not working right or any of that? And so it doesn't feel like TAB's overreaching in what we're doing. I don't think we need to be going out and looking for projects for town to fund that involves bicycles. Like if there's issues out there, maybe we push that public comment time for people that say, hey, have you noticed this happening? Or, you know what I mean? Is anybody walking? Do you feel like you're going to die by the wine store? Or do you, no one's favorite crosswalk, you know, so like,
Not doing this crosswalk.
I know my time is super precious and things like that. I also don't want to look like a board that's going out and just looking for projects. I think public comment would be really huge in getting those ideas back in.
It's more of, for your education,
Okay.
and it would be more of, your touch and feel of what the experience is, just like the engineer, for them to go out and not just be at their computer and looking at from a, the engineering lines.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of like what it's like to be in a dynamic situation that's live and you're on a bike, to know what it feels like. Do you feel comfortable having all these cars and you have to, like on 4th Street going on to 7, Colorado 7, what it feels like? And I think it helps with better clarification of what, why you may or may not want to support some change.
Okay, then you all get to ride in my car with me as a business owner and get to see how difficult it is to deal with Cleve Street and coming downtown and all of that if we're gonna go down this route. I'm just at delivery things. If we're doing this route, then we can all go drive around and see the troubles that we all have. That's what I'm saying.
So
It's like,
basically, you don't want to
I think,
engage just newer. I know that we all are drivers.
no, but I
But
know,
you
but you said,
haven't
but there's a
done a
difference
cycling
between being a driver and living on doing the downtown thing and doing deliveries and things like that. Just like you say, being a bicyclist is different. So why don't we leave it up to those people to give us their comment? Is your arm numb yet?
I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
I know, like, is it numb yet?
So I really like
So
the idea.
John, go ahead.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I was responding when we were talking.
I'm sorry, I just,
Your
you're so
comments?
persistent.
Yeah.
I really like the idea of field trips, but I think they should be addressed towards problem areas rather than a particular mode of transportation. And so last meeting when we had the CDOT lady come in and talking about being pedestrians across Highway 7, that would have been like a perfect field trip for us to go and have to walk across Highway 7, So I like the concept, but it has to involve all the different modes. And maybe we can't all get in the cab with the delivery driver, but somebody could get in the cab with their little phone and video it and be talking through it,
Cool.
and so that we consider different area, different months, different, since we always have so much empty time on our schedule, to really look in depth at an area like Cleve Street and the specific issues there.
Mm-hmm.
And then another time look at, lower Highway 7 and the specific issues there. And then another time look at the nightmare getting between the stoplight out here and the stoplight down there. And think about it from the point of view of the pedestrians, the bicycles, the vehicles, the delivery drivers, the motorcycles. And so really be multimodal in the way that we consider our places rather than one mode at a time.
That's great. I agree. Hopefully.
I like the idea of going and a problem being presented to us and looking at it instead of going out and hunting for problems.
Well, we already know where the
We have
problems
lots of them.
are.
Yeah.
Well, there's areas of town, and maybe we can identify where those locations could be. And, I'm using a format for a national program, Safe Route to School. So it's been effective ways to get adequate data. And there's multiple ways to collect data. And one is to actually go out and participate. And it would be, I think, even helpful for those who don't use a certain modality to experience it.
We'll walk home with the kids after school.
Yeah.
Down Highway 7.
You know, it's just
Safety.
to get out of our own little boxes of thinking and being open and not, you know, yeah.
I'm just like, I think it might make sense to look at projects coming up and do them for projects coming up. Like if we've all talked about how much we want Moraine Avenue past the loop
Yeah.
to be multimodal. That was a big one on the transportation plan. When that starts coming up, that's when we should go out. So we have the experiences and the eyes on the ground before the project comes up.
Before it goes out for a pre-planning bid, because that's when we can, you know,
30% is going through.
When we
but
wait till
before it goes out for
Yeah,
the 30%.
If it's at
plan.
30%, it's happening.
Yeah. And that's, and that's the point where our input makes a difference, and we can say, you know, in the 30% plan, you got to deal with this, instead of just letting them do their template for St. Joseph, Missouri, or whatever.
So, it sounds like there is interest. And, so, if we do this, there, we can, find out what kind of project is coming up, and maybe we can tackle that area. And,
So maybe
That'll
I'll call
help
it
us.
a bicycle field tour, like a multimodal field tour.
I want to be on a scooter.
well, yeah, and, but each time we do it, it would be specific. So it would need to be like, you don't want a bike and a pedestrian show up to do it at the same time. It would be as a group, and, as a group of cyclists or a group of pedestrians. Sure, scooters, I don't know. But, yeah, that way it would be a little bit more, a group. So, and the public is welcome. So, all right, I'm hearing interest. Good. All right, thank you. All right, and
Not interested in what she thinks though.
any update on past public comment? We didn't really, there wasn't anything anyone was really pursuing.
I have a
Great. Oh, the signs, yep, for other business we can do.
I don't know if it's other business or should have been a public comment at the beginning or what, but on the Nextdoor media site, there's been a lot of complaints about people passing on blind curves on Riverside out where it goes in and out of town boundaries 5 times between the Fun City and Mary's Lake Road.
Oh, they're taking Riverside because of the,
Well, and everybody,
yeah, construction.
Hopefully that alleviates when it gets.
No. That's going to go on for the rest of our lives. And a lot of concern about dangerous driving there, because there are a lot of blind curves, and the speed limit is what,
Go fast.
and people go way too fast, and it's narrow and there's no shoulders. And so again, it's this problem of enforcement and how are we going to deal with it? But there has been a lot of discussion with that on the Nextdoor site about that.
We could, I know in the past, we've contacted, a contact in law enforcement. And, would you like to do that, Joan?
Sure. What exactly is my mission?
To let them know about this feedback and that possibly enforcement, speed enforcement,
Okay.
to at least take a note that that's, public feedback and see
Okay.
where that goes.
Riverside is half
Where's
police, and then it switches to sheriff's office. So if you do contact the departments, you would probably have to contact both.
Yeah, it's
Just so you
Landmark
know.
County.
Joan, is this feedback that came to you as a TAB member?
No, it's just because I go on the
You're
website.
reading social media and
You
we're
can go
going
on
to take
next-
action.
I'm monitoring social media.
It's
And
on
then,
there. People are on there talking about it. I
yeah,
saw it.
and then I will make a comment, that you should, get their license plate number, their photo, or that it,
So is that a function of TAB? Is that TAB going to take that on as a project or just trying to define TAB?
oh.
It's a.
Well, I've got my
public comment,
feelers
okay.
out to the community, and that's a way of getting community feedback.
I think there's more public comment if we have an opportunity. Anybody else?
I would just say it's been very informative. I look forward to the next.
And it's up to the chair. I
We
don't mean
will,
to, I'm just
Yeah.
directing it because I've seen some public come in.
we could do this under other business. Okay. Go ahead.
So Bill, you asked the question, something along the lines of how will motorists know what they can and can't do on Cleve, or what
Or
was
I
the
just
question?
suggested, would there be signage to help relieve, you know,
So,
They're
But
gonna
there
do
was
what they're gonna do
issues,
what they
so-
want.
I thought, wow.
You know
yeah.
that.
well, they
And you
will,
said
regardless
signage,
of,
so-
It's the wild, wild
regardless of what
west.
signs you put up.
Dana called it the wild, wild west.
So, yes, there will be signage. This is, Cleve Street's a new concept for us this fall. It's a shared street. It has not been used before. So I went out and looked at other communities that have done shared streets and borrowed their signage since they've already been vetted for years.
Nice.
So the signage on each end of Cleve is gonna look like this. Shared street. The motorists have to yield for the bikes and the pedals and to each other. And then underneath this panel is gonna be this panel.
But we're allowed to
We're gonna have-
load, right?
Pardon me?
Like, we're allowed to load and unload.
Loading is permitted, absolutely, yep. So
And then one,
the narrowest point on Cleve Street is 20 feet. 2 cars can pass in 20 feet as long as they're paying attention.
but no semi.
But what's gonna happen when motorists go out there, their anxiety level is gonna go up because it's narrow.
Tight. We really
And
can't.
that's by design,
It's
because when your anxiety level goes up as a motorist, what do? You slow down and you're on high alert. So that's the concept, that's the signage.
Nice. Is that good?
One question though, because people think it's a one way because it's so slim. I think you might need a sign that says two-way traffic, because people literally are asking, is it one way? I'm like, no, it's two. Okay, because they want to know if they can function in their life down there. I think it's important for them to know that they can.
The default assumption in the United States of America
But
and
have
in
you-
Colorado
have you
is that
seen
every
those?
road is two-way.
Have you